Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Shuri, issue number 1. It's here. And that actually happened pretty quickly because maybe there have been announcements for a long time, but I only noticed for the past month or so, maybe 5 weeks. So I like that. Rather than months and months in advance, hey, this comic book's going to happen. I'm going, I can't wait. This one is like, oh, can't wait. Oh, it's here. Awesome. So that's nice. Okay, so let's get into who created this comic book so we can start talking about the comic book itself. All right. This is Shuri issue number 1 called Gone. This issue is called Gone. Writer Nnedi Okorafor, should be Dr. Nnedi Okorafor, but she's American amongst she's African American, but what do you call it? As most Americans, they usually don't put the name doctor in front because it's a humility thing. So artist Leonardo Romero, color artist Jordi Belair, and VC's Joe Sabino is the letterer. Sam Spratt is the cover artist, and suffice it to say there are lots and lots of variant cover artists. So awesome. I'm glad that Marvel put enough trust in this comic book being as good as I'm hoping it will be. Also, logo, Adam Del Rey. I like that they are mentioning who's writing the logos. I think it used to be the letterers back in the day. I seem to remember Sam Heck made the logo for Iron Man back in the day and things like that. I could be wrong, but that was also when they were basically calligraphers instead of digital guys. No disrespect to any of them. So we start off with an understanding, and it's fully confirmed in case there's any question whatsoever that what you read is actually what you read. In the back, they confirm it blatantly, but the book gives a perfect enough understanding that what's happening in the intergalactic empire of Wakanda, that's the current volume of Wakanda, to date, is that that guy is that Black Panther, that T'Challa is in fact actually our T'Challa. That's my T'Challa, man. And he and Manifold went off into space to go through a wormhole and check out the wormhole. So awesome. Awesome. Totally digging that. So that's what I expected, but without any kind of proof. And all of a sudden, boom, here's the perfect verification. Done and done. So awesome. That alone makes this comic book, par and above, or I should say above par, head and shoulders above, your standard. So I dug that. That was very helpful. After that, we're recognizing a person named Moody. I think that's how you pronounce the name, M-U-T-I. Moody is a person. We don't know anything about this person, but apparently they, let's go completely gender. I hate gender pronouns. I despise gender pronouns, including he and she. They're annoying to me. I've mentioned before, there are several other languages, mostly Indian languages, and I don't mean Native American languages, that have, like in Bangla, the word she. She means they. You don't have to have a gender to say that person over there. But anyway, she, this person, they, they're basically a hacker, and there's several of the mute zones in Wakanda, and that means that they're kind of away from technology because there's so much vibranium in the area that it kind of screws up communications. So how this person is getting through, that could be a story in and of itself. That would be pretty interesting if this person figured out a way to be able to make communications despite the large amount of vibranium around them. That would actually be pretty interesting. I would definitely like to see a story like that. Anyhow, basically, this person, they're talking like, hey, hasn't it been 2 weeks since T'Challa's been gone? Well, yes, as a matter of fact, it has. Don't you think you should be looking for him? How am I supposed to look for him? And plus, there's a little bit of guilt on her part because she designed the rocket ship. I'm very sorry, as a former electrical engineer, I do get into the sciences of things. I'd rather things not be explained. Like Superman flies because he flies. Once you try to explain how he flies, a lot of us are just going to start picking that apart, because Superman should not be able to fly. That just doesn't make sense how he flies. So just no, he flies because he flies. In this particular case, Shuri explains that she covered the ship's exterior, the spaceship, with a network of molecular wires that carry information to the central computer. Well, then I'm wondering how she made them. How she insulated those wires, or are they non-insular? Plus, they're giving communication constantly all the time. And to me, it's like, well, then that means that all the wind, plus they're only molecular. So how strong are they? Can they re-enter and escape an atmosphere and not actually burn up these little molecular wires? I mean, what the frag, man? I mean, vibranium's awesome, but it's not that awesome. So come on. So yeah, it's there's a lot here. I'm just like, dude, you shouldn't have explained this stuff. Plus, she has a pair of nanotech wings, which I'm thinking that's cute, but I mean, to me, the holographic wings that Falcon always had for a period of time, were always the coolest ones. But if you're going to compete with engineering with Tony Stark, you're probably not going to win. But as far as physics is concerned, especially shadow physics, Stark doesn't hold a shadow of the shadow of a candle's wick to be able to stand up to the senior leaders in Wakanda. So I've always liked that sort of competition that never really played as well as they should have. Hopefully that happens in here, because this is a Shuri book, and since it's explained that the movie version of Shuri, Letitia Wright, is going to be elements of that are going to be sprinkled into here. I like that, and I'm really hoping we do get that sort of competition, especially if you read the. How do you describe this now? I don't even remember if I did a review for it, but the movie adaptation of the Black Panther. There was a lot of competition spoken of by Shuri in that comic book about how she's smarter than Tony Stark, and that's just her opinion. But and intelligence is something that you can. Intelligence, IQ, for the most part, is just pattern recognition. That's all it is. It's a lot. It's awesome. It's really important, but it's not detrimental to life. And emotional intelligence is actually more important, studies have shown. But that's okay, because neither Shuri in the movie, actually Shuri period, Shuri doesn't have a lot of emotional intelligence. And the question is, does Stark have any more emotional intelligence? Because that guy's the biggest dweeb there is. But anyway, yeah, I am hoping that we're going to see some kind of competition like that. But this entire issue really spit out the idea that he is gone, T'Challa, he is gone, and we basically, I keep on trying to separate Letitia Wright from Shuri. But anyway, that character, Shuri, she is being asked to step up and take the mantle of Black Panther once again, because, well, you kind of need a Black Panther. So that's cool. I like that this was just kind of knocked out in the first issue. I kind of hope it would have been knocked out a little bit faster, unless Miss Nnedi Okorafor Dr. Nnedi Okorafor has a plan for how she's going to take over the role again. Like, is there going to be a council that's going to rule that no, she can't? So she's got to argue with these guys, and Ramonda and all these other people have to go and, hey man, we're going to do this whether you like it or not. There were that would be cool. I would like to read something like that, but there were certain Nnediisms that this is the first time I'm coining that phrase, and it's just me. It's just amongst us alumni, but feel free to use it. A Nnediism that happens in her comic book writing. Again, I've never read any of her novels. I do wish to. One of these days I'll get around to it on a very slow comic book week, if possible. Definitely before I start law school, otherwise I'm screwed. There's no chance I'm reading anything but case studies. Anyway, so Nnedi falls into certain aspects of her writing in comic books where, as an example, you guys know that the alumni, Comic Book University alumni, know that every Tuesday I'll put out a 10 Things About video, where it's basically a profile video. I will explain somebody. Just yesterday I put out 10 things about, what's her name? Moondragon, Heather Douglas, the daughter of Drax the Destroyer. 10 things about her, and it was about a 2-minute video. That was it. I try to squeeze them down to a minute. Never works, but Yes, I did a video about her. So I had to figure out 10 things to write about her. The problem with a lot of these characters, like Moonstone, not Moonstone, Moondragon, is two separate characters there, is that I have to whittle it down to only 10 things. There's some characters who have almost nothing about them. It's like you're trying to find 10 things. You know, can I call this two separate things? But when I do that, I will go to as many different websites as I can, and I will first try to verify the information that I already know about the character. I will find pictures for those to associate with each one of the things I'm going to talk about. And I'm typing all this stuff out, I'm putting them in separate columns, and then I'm also going to find other information that I think is more important or just as important as things I'm already saying, and then I try to either stretch it to 10 things, which very rarely happens, or I'll try and condense it to 10 things. They'll be like bullet points. That's something that I do, and then I put it in a video and I put it out. Now that is a perfectly fine, some people say great, some people say it sucks, whatever, but it's a perfectly fine way to explain a character. It is not a great way to do a comic book, however. It's like every character who's in here, I think it should be established that Ta-Nehisi Coates has clearly given her a lot of information, clearly given Miss Okorafor plenty of information about what's going on in his book so that she can write her book. That's not to say he gave her cheat sheets or, tips or this, that, or anything. No, just this is what's going on in my book. Try and figure out what you're going to do in your book now with that information. And then as you start getting ideas thrown back my way, when I'm ready to bring Black Panther home, then I can make sure that they incorporate with each other. And yes, please, continuity. Mwah. Bellissimo, magnifique, eh? So that, I'm good with that. But what Dr. Okorafor is doing is she'll take several aspects of a character. She'll find out like 10 things about this character, that character, those characters, whatever. And then she'll try and incorporate it in the comic book in order to show that she knows who these characters are. And yes, that is not to give us information about the character, because that's not the way it's written. It's written to show that she knows the character. This is just me breaking it down. And again, I've learned some interrogation techniques while I was in the military. No waterboarding. I was a good guy. But my point is that I can see this is how she's writing. What she's doing is she'll say like she'll have some things written in whatever, some other language that Queen Ramonda is speaking, and then she'll put in parentheses, or she'll put the little asterisk there. It's okay, cool. We go down and we look in the narration box. Oh, this is how you say like good luck or something to that effect in regards to space travel. In regards to the ship. They're going to go off on the ship and do whatever. Sorry, in my head I'm just thinking it should be Godspeed. Whenever there's space travel involved, that's where the term Godspeed actually comes from, because what's going to kill you? The only thing that's going to freaking kill you is speed. So rather than good luck, Godspeed is what you'd usually say, but that's fine, whatever. Maybe there's no term for that in, Zuluian? I think Zulu, that language. Anyway, so to show that she knows where Queen Ramonda comes from. Okay, cool. It does help people who are just, this isn't issue number one. It will help people, who don't know anything about Black Panther or Shuri or Queen Ramonda at this point. There were some things in there about Shuri. There was just a couple little things here and there where it's like, oh, I know about this character because bang, and she'll put it in there. And it just feels placed. It feels like product placement to me. You know what I'm saying? It's just information that's put in there to let us know that the book's in good hands because she knows what she's doing. There are other ways to do that. There are multitudinous ways of doing that. And I would rather see any of those ways than this way, because it just feels so... But this is also a way that she writes. Case in point, things that interest Dr. Okorafor, she'll put down like, I remember in one of the comic books, I think the X-Men Wakanda X-Men, X-Men Wakanda Forever. That was the issue. she put down like a shopping list, and I made the comment, she's putting down a freaking shopping list of things that you get for a particular African meal. Why? I, I don't care. I made one of Dr. Okorafor's recipes before. Why can't I talk today? Like my tongue hurts. I made one of her recipes before. There it goes again. And it was great. It was really awesome. But nonetheless, I don't want to see a shopping list in my comic books. But she feels the need to put this stuff in there to try and educate us, which I'm not adverse to. I love learning new things. And if I can learn something in my comic books, which is a passion of mine, comics, hey, I'm more than happy to learn it. But there's a way to do it. And I just feel that wasting a couple of panels by saying, oh, and now I need some of this ingredient, and now I need some of this ingredient, and now I need some of this ingredient. Dude, are you freaking kidding me? Are you really wasting my time, my comic book panels, by doing that? Not cool, not cool, but I get it. I understand what she's doing. Again, I've stated several times before that Dr. Okorafor simply needs to do what most people need to learn how to do when they transition from writing novels to writing comic books. They need to learn their comic book voice and understand that they can't use their novel voice. You can go into full exposition in a novel, but unless a villain is, giving a long-winded speech, we don't want to see too much exposition. When Doctor Doom or Magneto is talking a lot, or when Captain America is talking a lot, or Spider-Man, Peter Parker has figured something out, you know what I'm saying? Then it's like, okay, Miles Morales too. I would say Miles Morales too. When Dr. Octopus is just, doing all these things, or Baron Mordo, he's a good one. Then it's like, okay, cool, the exposition is fun, awesome, I like this, it adds to the story, but I don't want you can't put exposition in a comic book for every single character like you can in a novel, because you expect that in a novel. That just gets in the way in a comic book, So, plus what artist wants to sit there and start drawing people picking ethnic foods out of a bin? That's boring. That's boring. That's boring. Works in a novel, doesn't work in a comic book. So anyway, those two issues that I noticed with Dr. Okorafor's writing kind of put her into a bit of an interesting point for me. We understand, I believe, as comic book fans, we understand, if you're any kind of a long-term comic book fan, that mutants are their own ethnicity. You can have black mutants, you can have Muslim mutants, you can have Jewish mutants, you can have Italian or Native American mutants. There are a lot of Native American mutants. I don't remember there being any Cherokees, so I feel very left out in that regard. But nonetheless, you can have lots of different kinds of mutants, but they're all mutant first, and then whatever else later. There are a lot of people who forget that Kitty Pryde is Jewish, because it doesn't come up all the time. But being that she's a mutant, that's always there. They're not usually going to their own ethnocentric groups because they're already in the major ethnocentric group, and that is being a mutant, being an X person, So that's a big deal. So when I read here, this newscaster in the beginning, she's a Wakandan, and she's talking. It's a historic day as final preparations are being made for our nation's first human space mission. First off, first human space mission? We've already established that the Wakandans have gone into space many times before America or Russia had a space program. So it's curious to know that Wakandans haven't actually gone into space yet. That's interesting. Well, I don't remember it ever being said that Wakandans have been in space, like as in the actual physical person, like a John Glenn or a Yuri. Oh, why can't I remember his name right now? Anyway, it's just interesting to me. I would have just assumed that Wakandan people have already been in space, astronauts or whatever they would call themselves. It's cosmonaut for Russians, astronauts for Americans. I forget what the the Chinese call themselves Naughty anyway, and the Indians are going to call themselves something once they start going up there. So I figure Wakandans will call themselves something else, but who cares? Doesn't matter. Not yet. But there should be an independent word for that. There should. Just science. I'm sciencing you. So, so that's just interesting for me. I would have figured that Wakandans would have been the first people in space in this world, Earth 616. But then we get into King T'Challa and his associate, the mutant known as Manifold, will take a shuttle, blah, 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 blah. It's good writing, but blah, 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 meaning none of the other stuff is going to make my point any more or less. The mutant Manifold. Saying the mutant Manifold in comic books is like saying the Black Bishop. Which, no, I don't mean the members of the Hellfire Club. No. What I mean is, like the superhero, the mutant bishop. I could say the Jewish Magneto. You know what I'm saying? The Muslim Surya, Dust. You know what I'm saying? We don't say things like that in the comic book. It just doesn't make sense. When you say the mutant, that's kind of... Yeah, it makes me think that this newscaster or this news anchor, whatever, is a racist in some way. And I know I'm going a little bit over, but this is just, the bad guys usually say stuff like that. You'll have, what the heck is it, Peter Henry Gyrich saying something like that, Get the mutant known as Bishop. You know what I'm saying? He won't say, get the black guy known as Bishop. He won't say that. He won't say, get the time traveler known as Bishop. He'll say he is a time traveler. But, you have to think about that. You have to think about language. My wife is actually a union worker who works in... she works with refugees. She works in the union as the diversity manager. Very diverse in and of herself, therefore, it's like she's the perfect person to do it, I guess. But she is actually really good at it. I remember we were talking about it recently. How do I put this? Instead of saying a black woman, you would say a woman of color. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because the first thing that you say is what defines the person, and you don't want to be defined by your ethnicity or your gender or your whatever. You want to be defined as, your name probably, but you want to be defined in a positive light. You know what I'm saying? So saying something like, that Italian guy, Bill. It's like, okay, so I'm Italian before I'm a guy. That's what you're saying. And that's not to even take into account gender. That's to take into account the idea of I'm just a guy. I'm a guy. I'm a dude. I'm a person. I'm a human being. You know what I'm saying? It's more about I'm Italian. So either you're mentioning that I'm Italian for a specified reason, or it's just you're putting me in a box. Don't put me in a box. Don't put Manifold in a box. Manifold is more than just that. I would rather you tell me why he was taking Manifold. The fact that he can bend space, that could potentially get him out of the wormhole. He'd have to be able to bend time also. Have they shown that he can bend time? I can't remember. That would have been the previous volume, if that did occur. Either way, the previous volume of Black Panther under Ta-Nehisi Coates. But either way... Yeah, I just noticed that because that's what my wife is doing right now. So it's just interesting to me. The mutant known as Manifold. Why does it matter that he's a mutant? Why classify him like that? Anyway, that's just me. So yeah, pretty long video about Shuri issue number 1. But again, she got most of the stuff out of the way that I didn't want this comic book to be about. We know who she is. We know that she's the former Black Panther. We know those things. I want to know what else she is. I want to know the things that we've never been told about her before. You're going to sprinkle in a little bit of Letitia Wright into this. Bang, let's do it, baby. But let's genuinely do that. I want to read that. I want to read that story. I want to see people trying to block her from being the queen of Wakanda again. just whatever. I want to read something that's really enlightening, not just the idea of people deciding to choose that, this, that, and the other thing. Also, something else I really liked in the back of this comic book. This was actually really cool for me, and I don't know how many people noticed it. When they were talking about, oh, nope, went the wrong way. When they were talking about who's there, the women who are here in this circle, all right? Everybody was involved in the circle, whether they were in the circle or not. You're going to notice in the back, Oyoke is in the back. But, regardless of the idea that Queen Ramonda is in the middle, anybody could have been I'm hoping that anybody could have been in the circle. But because I don't see anybody sitting on a pillow. I don't see anyone sitting on a chair. I don't see anybody with a staff. I don't see any mark of distinction for these people unless her coat is, her garb is meant to be that thing. But either way, I do like that all these women were having a conversation, and who's here? Here's a director of the Extraction Academy, which was mentioned previously, prior in this book. And then here's this person she's from the Konoma Valley. If you remember, that's actually where, why can't I remember her name right now? She was so important in the movie, and she's a bad guy in the comic books. But, wow, I'm so annoyed that I can't remember her name right now. Because I love her character. Anyway, she's got the rings in the movie, and she throws the rings. She's got them in the comic book also. Anyway, she's from there, and she just graduated from high school. She's got nothing else to say about herself except, I just graduated high school. And they go back and forth like that also. Here's a professor of physics at the Wakanda University, and a mother of four. The mother of four was actually first. See what I just did there. See what she did there. Dr. Okorafor recognized that mother of four is more important than professor at some Wakanda University. Who cares about that? She's mother of four. She puts the priorities first, But then in the back it says, here's this person, Bube, I guess her name is, single mother of two, and see, she put the mother part first, and single mother on top of that. She's a freaking superhero without a cape, damn it. Someone get this woman a cape. But dressmaker of many. Single mother of two, dressmaker of many. There's a dressmaker sitting with a professor, sitting with a high school graduate, sitting with the head of an academy, that's awesome. So all of these women were equal. That was cool. I dug that. It's not the idea of, I'm just a dressmaker. A dressmaker is just as important as a professor. Just as important. Don't give me any flack. They're all crucial, all right? But again, positioning, look at the positioning. They put down, they were the mother of first. So that was cool, right? I don't like the idea that they put Manifold second, his name second, and then the fact that he's a mutant first, all right? Unless they were going to state that, he's a mutant, the mutant known as Manifold, because of his awesome ability to bend space, which could help them get back home. Something to that effect. That would have at least given us a reason why they're mentioning, because then it would be why they brought him, as opposed to he brought a mutant and his name happens to be Manifold. Not cool, man. Not cool. So anyway, probably just a little thing. And I sincerely doubt she meant anything by it. I mean, mutants are fictitious, right? Right? Crap. Got to check my sewers for Morlocks. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me. Really long video. All right. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.